having some. Okay. Hi. Okay. Hi. I am Laura, Quizlet's Director of Marketing. Let me present my screen. And so you all can play along with me. Awesome. So this presentation covers what's coming up, as well as a quick look back at some of the things we've worked on over the last 6 months. I know some of you are regular Quizlet users and use Quizlet daily in your classroom. Others are getting ramped up for the first time and trying to use Quizlet this year with your students. So hopefully this will be a refresher for those of you who are already pros and some new information for those of you who want to see what's coming up. To start, this is me. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Quizlet. I'm a Bay Area native. I grew up on the peninsula, just about 30 miles south of Quizlet's office. I ended up heading to the Midwest for college. I wanted to get out of the West Coast and understand what snow and humidity were like, so I ended up at the University of Chicago. I'm a mother of 2 boys, a 5-year-old and an 18-month-old, so that certainly helps me stay really focused on building great educational products for students, because I can see how important it is when I work with my own children. And I should say I was never a teacher, just so you know a little bit more about me, but I've always been really, really excited and passionate about education. I've been working in education technology for the last 7 years. And I was actually thinking about how my career got its start, and that was at the Adler Planetarium and Astronomy Museum in Chicago, for any of you who are Midwesterners. And I was thinking about that in the last few weeks because one of the coolest things that I ever got to do was meet Buzz Aldrin and Jim Lovell as part of my work there. So whether you work in a museum or in a school or elsewhere, there's plenty of work to do to help educate students and share knowledge. This presentation covers, as I said, a bunch of things that we've been working on. I'm happy to answer questions at the end. I will probably just go through this in its entirety and then spend some time doing Q&A after that. So if you have a question, feel free to stick it in the Q&A box, and then we can figure out which ones make sense to answer here or which ones are better for follow-up in our Help Center later on. So to start, we're very focused on helping students and teachers find more relevant content. This feature is at the bottom of the set page. It's called Suggested Sets. And what we do is, at the bottom of any set, we will suggest other sets that that person might want to use. So sets that are that are often found in the same folder, sets created by the same creator, or sets that basically our algorithm in the back thinks might be useful. And this is really powerful because we know that if you're studying, for example, chapter 1, there's a good chance that you also will want to study chapter 2. Oftentimes students find value in creating their own content, and that's great as well. But we know from learning science and from our own research that when students actually engage in the studying of the content, that's when they see the real magic. So we want to make it as easy as possible for them to find that content. One way we're working on helping them find content this year is by actually asking them for their class and school information. And this is really exciting for us because it'll allow us to build these more informal networks on Quizlet that help students find the content that's most relevant to them. So when they sign in this year, they'll be asked where they go to school, and they can pull from a list of suggested schools that we've pulled from our database, and then add the classes. And you can imagine a student who's taking AP Biology, Roosevelt High School in Des Moines, Iowa, for example. Most likely the stuff they're going to need to study is very similar to the student who took AP Biology at Roosevelt High School in Des Moines, Iowa last year. And so we want to make it seamless for students to find that content and start studying it really quickly. And once we do that, we can start doing a better job of suggesting content to students. So if we know what they're studying and we know where they go to school, we can help them find that content that's going to be 100% aligned with what they're working on. This is really powerful. We have 350 million pieces of user-generated content that have already been created by teachers and students. And the more we can do to get that content in front of students, the better they'll be able to pop into studying. Once students sign in this year, they'll see a few different things that are new, students and teachers. So we have a refreshed signed in homepage. We want to make it easier to focus on what you need to do next. So in this top box, We're calling this the next action box. And what it will do is it'll coach you and your students on what to do next. So for this student who's just come back, we're going to ask them to create a set where it's like, it's the beginning of the school year, it's time for you to create some study materials. But at other times in the year, students may be coached on to do something like finish a round of flashcards or complete learn mode, or if they've completed learn mode, we might tell them to take the test mode to sort of test their knowledge. So it's really about coaching students onto the next best thing that will help them on their learning journey. We've also redesigned the page to display more content, which will help students and teachers more easily pull up the stuff they're working on. Previously, all of the study sets were basically in a list, so you'd have to scroll down to find stuff you looked at like a week or so ago, and now we're doing a better job of bringing more of them up on the page. If you go into create a set, you'll see a new toolbar. This is really exciting for us. We are adding, as part of our Quizlet teacher premium subscription, the ability to add bold, italics, underline, and colors, but we'll also have the same support for searching our image gallery, for example, that we've always had, or picking a language, picking math, picking science is sort of like your language. So this universal toolbar is exciting and will be available for Quizlet teacher subscribers. You can use create bold, italic, underline, and highlighted terms when you're creating content. And then that will pull through to when it's being studied as well. So here you can see a set that I've created about state capitals and governors, and those italics that I've chosen, the highlights that I've chosen are pulled through into the study mode. So I've used our purple highlighter for the governor, Kate Ivey, and the yellow highlighter for the capital. But of course, I also want to say, you don't have to answer correct, you don't have to put it in bold or input any special text. It's more a cue off of how to study it. We've also updated our set page. We did this in late spring. Really a focus on how we get students into studying faster. So if you remember our old set page, we had a row of sort of larger icons. And what we realized was that was really pushing content down the page and sort of hiding what we wanted people to do, which was to start studying. So we've pulled up all the different study modes onto the left-hand side of the page. If you have a set where you can play Quizlet live on it, you'll also see that icon. This set doesn't have that because probably I took a picture of it while I was signed in as a student. And then we've pulled up the study preview and made it easier for students to hop in and start studying as soon as possible. We know that anytime students are spending on Quizlet is like really important, and we want to make it so that they can get to their studying without having to do a bunch of clicks. So we've pulled up sort of flashcard mode onto this page and made it easy for students to quickly review, or if they want to hop into a study mode. Some other like sort of less sexy things about this page is that it loads more quickly, so it's faster if you're on like a not very high-speed internet network. And it also is better on mobile. So two things that are like they're not that shiny and fun and new, but it actually just makes the experience a lot better. This is coming soon and something we're really excited about. We know, and you know, that it's hard to be a student. I think sometimes, here at Quizlet, and I think, people often will say like, well, I remember because when I was a student, this is how it was. And we know that students today are just like under more pressure than ever before, from student debt to working part-time after school to half of all college students have part-time jobs and children. So there's a lot of pressure on students right now. And so the more that we can do at Quizlet to help coach them and support them, check in, show some empathy, the better. So this is we ran this as a test in the spring, and we're working on rolling it out this fall. Essentially, when you go into Learn, not the first time you go into Learn, but the second time you're entering Learn mode for a specific set, we'll ask you to tell us about your goal. Some students are really on Quizlet because they want to pass a test. They know they want to do that. Other ones are focused more on that long-term memorization. Maybe they're taking chemistry and they can't actually start engaging in some of that higher level work until they've memorized the periodic table. Others are just simply using Quizlet for a reference. And that's fine. And sometimes they don't know what the use case is, and that's fine too. So once they answer that, we'll ask them how they're feeling. Say like, how's it going for you? Whether they're confident, unsure, stressed. And then we'll give them an encouraging message and coach them into studying with learn mode. And what's really fascinating about this is, oftentimes in the tech world, you're told like, don't put too many screens in, get people into the product as quickly as possible. People are going to drop off. And what we've